Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Endless Celts Podcast, another edition of the Viewer Takeover. We are joined by Ged Thomas. How are you, buddy?
Fine, Stephen. Fine. Bit
Good to
nervous,
have
but
you on. You would be fine. Everyone's giving you support. Frank Kennedy, have a good one. Evening all, Jed. Good luck. Remember your bedpan. Ryan Kelly wants you to smash it. Kaiser, and he was the first participant of the Viewer Takeover.
Yeah.
Good to have you along as well. And we're joined by show regular Ross. How are you?
I'm not bad, Stephen. Wee wine in my hand, ready to talk Celtic. And good to have Ged on. I know Ged quite well through the golf and stuff, so looking forward to this.
I mean, we've got a lot to talk about, but the first thing we'll go into, I know it seems like recently I've been changing a lot of my positions where my podcast is happening, but I got a new flag today. A great surprise when I came into the house. The original Endless Celts logo over here, and then Endless Celts Podcast here. I think it's just a cracking flag. Bought by the missus is great, and I was well chuffed, and I thought I had to have a place in the podcast, so I'm happy about that. But we'll do all the amazing stuff first. Beer 52. I think we all have a beer. Well, you're on the wine. Jed's got a beer. They are our show sponsors. Get involved in that. Beer 52 /Celts. Get yourself a free case. I think you cover the postage, and it continues. Subscription after that, but you can cancel any time. And then the Super 6. Francis Carty is still top with 150 points. Unbelievable. The guy keeps it going. Then we've got James Bowie second, Sean Ross third, Kevin Hamsey fourth, and rounding off the top five, Alzer Jack, who's in the comments and will be our next participant of the Viewer Takeover. But we'll get stuck right in. And I'll come to you first, Jeff, as the main man tonight. Now, we all know we're out of European football, but as we always do, we kind of give a kind of brief overview of the game that's just happened. We've played Shakhtar twice, we've drew with them twice, and I think both games, if you look back, are the most winnable ties of a European campaign so far. What do you think went wrong there on Tuesday night?
Tuesday night, I thought, again, finishing. With chances, just didn't put the ball away. A few players didn't play to their usual standard. Haskabanovic maybe had a lot of corners in the first half. He just couldn't get it into the 6-yard box. Terrible. Now, I don't know if he was nervous. Also, Atati, I felt at the game, he seemed to get a lot of abuse for the crowd, which I was really disappointed with because he's had a fantastic season. But they just had one thing that we've not got. They had that Modric, absolute quality. His goal was phenomenal. We sat at the opposite end, but as soon as it hurt it, we thought that's in. But that run that he got with the boy missed the sitter. It was the afterburners. Carter Vickers can run, but he couldn't get near him. It was just lightning. The only other player I've seen as quick as that is Mbappe. That boy was quality, and that was the difference. At European level, that was the difference from Shakhtar to Celtic. A guy who is just 21 years of age, he is going to be something else. And so that's what I think the difference was.
Yeah, I mean, we will come on to Modric, Ross. I thought he was a cracking player. I think we said it after the first game, he's going to go on to the bigger and better things. But looking at it from a Celtic point of view, like Jed said there, we're missing just that kind of final piece. And I'm going to pull you up later on what you said in the chat, in our podcast chat before this game, so beware of that.
What did I say?
Yeah, you may take a couple more sips of wine there, buddy. But as like the overview, I mean, for me, if I can go here, I think like you're getting into that game, you're full of confidence, and it feels like a bit of a false prophecy now. Like you're looking forward to these home European games, but there's nothing really comes off it that's any good. We'll have that on the record going into the game before the draw, 7 games without a win. We've kind of lost that kind of vibe where we're going and we're on the front foot. We're taking the two teams. We're being stodgy when we need to be stodgy. We're sitting back and need to sit back. Seems like teams just can come and get a win at Celtic Park now, and that for me isn't quite good enough.
Well, I mean, you can't argue that teams do feel like they can come to Celtic Park and get a win because it's been happening for a number of years. But Celtic are on a journey, and in terms of Europe, they're at the beginning of that journey. I feel like the other night, the game itself, I feel like we probably didn't do enough to win the game. I think a draw was a fair result in the end. I think we had a lot of the ball, but I think because we're a good team, we're a decent team, but I think we had a lot of the ball as well because that's the way Shakhtar play. They allow you to have a lot of the ball because of the pace they've got on the break. I don't think it's any secret. I mean, Jed's talked about Mudryk there. It's like Mudryk FC to an extent, but they're really good on the break. And at times, Jed's alluded to Hatate getting booed there. I wasn't at the game myself, so I didn't pick up on the boos, but certainly don't agree with that at all. I don't think he deserves to be getting booed. But for me, I think Hatate gave the ball away quite a lot the other night, and he's done it. No, I'm no slagging him because he's been excellent for us, but he has gave the ball away a lot in the European campaign, and I know he plays on the edge. He tries to play the difficult pass, miss a man out, and it gets us forward up the park quicker. But sometimes when you try that against quality opposition, you can get caught out if you don't execute it right, and at times he hasn't executed it right, and it was no more evident than when they scored their goal. He just played a ball into an area. He wasn't under immense pressure. There wasn't a pass on, but he didn't get enough on it, and they braked on us, and it was. I mean, we've talked about Carter Vickers trying to get to him. He tries to wipe him out. I've heard people saying, "Ken, just be that cynical." Carter Vickers tries to be cynical, but he can't get near him. The guy's rapid, and for me, I know we'll probably go into it later, but I felt Hart could have maybe done better. I know it was a lethal strike.
The goal?
Aye.
It dipped right at the end, Ross. It dipped over Hart.
I know it was. Aye, I'm not saying it wasn't. It was quite close to him though. It wasn't right in the top corner, but we'll probably go on to it. But aye, and in terms of the game itself, I don't think we've done enough on the night to win the game. I think over the piece, a draw was fair.
But yeah, also, see, you mentioned about Hatate giving the ball away. If you look at the games in Europe, you go back 4 or 5 years, whatever. Look at the many times Callum McGregor gives the ball away.
Oh, I'm not just singling him out. No, absolutely, I agree with that, Jed.
That's what I was getting annoyed about at the game the other night, when you could hear the crowd on Hatate's back. Yeah, he didn't have his greatest game, but geez, how many games has he won for us since he's been here? Mm-hmm. They're all entitled to a bad game, but I just was a bit annoyed at the game the other night when I felt they were singling out Hatate.
Yeah, I mean, we will come on the player performances. I think you're making great points. And actually, Ross, to be fair, I do kind of agree with what you said about Joe Hart, but as you said, we'll go on that a bit later on. But just to rewind that, Jed, back to before the game kicked off, we've seen the lineup being produced. And obviously the big surprise was Kyogo was starting with Giakoumakis in that team for like probably the first time. I know he's come on and they've played kind of 15 minutes here and there together in a couple of games. But for me, looking at that lineup, one thing about it, you have to hold your hands up and say, it was probably what the majority of Celtic fans wanted getting into this kind of game, for a bit of pride, try and win it, put on your valuable assets, getting them goals and stuff like that. Kyogo playing off Giakoumakis, he was coming really deep at times as well. I mean, Haksabanovic, you mentioned him. I think we lose a bit of him when he's out wide. I think he's much better in the number 10 position, where he can kind of play off the whim and off the cuff a wee bit. But just the lineup itself, Jed, what was your feeling towards that? I've seen obviously a lot of people.
Sorry, I actually thought Haksabanovic was going to be playing like the number 10 role, and Kyogo would have been out in the wing. That's what I thought. But when they started the game, you could clearly see he was just playing off Giakoumakis. But I mean, we had a very attacking-minded team for the game the other night. I still did think we were going to win. You know, I didn't feel they put us under loads of pressure, but just that bit of quality showed with them. And I mean, we've seen where Leipzig beat Real Madrid. They went to Leipzig and played with them. You know, they drew with Real Madrid. I mean, if you look, we've had 68 shots in the 5 games. We've had 22 on target. So they don't include like the first game, Real Madrid, when McGregor rattled the post or the crossbar. That doesn't count as being in target, right? So when you look at so we scored 3 goals Shakhtar has had something like, I think they've scored, is it 8 goals? 8 goals they've scored. And
Yeah, I
they've
believe
had,
so.
their average game, we have had, over the 5 games, we have had 45% possession. Shakhtar's had 40. Real Madrid has had 59. And Leipzig had 55, which you would expect from that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, I know that I've said as well, our finishing hasn't been, that's been a downfall. When you look at the amount of chances we've created, also the amount of corners we've had. But it's going to take time. You know, I think this first season was a learning curve in the Champions League. Next season, fingers crossed, we win the league. Then we can go. Then we can say, right, we move on to the next stage.
You keep that form up, Jed. You'll be on the stats drop with me soon. I love them stats. But here, I tell you what, Ross, as well, Jed makes a great point. When we look at like the averages of stuff, and people call us the 55-minute team and all that type of stuff, and I mean that lineup. I go back to it again, Ross, for yourself. There was many of us saying, can we try Kyogo and Giakoumakis up top together? Can we play them off the left and stuff like that? But how did you feel when it came out? A lot of different opinions on social media as usual. You're going to get people who's for it and against it. Me personally, I was all for it because you're missing Jota, you're missing McGregor, so you need to put that extra talent in where you can.
When it first came out, I was surprised, firstly, because I didn't think, certainly in this game, he wasn't going to experiment with that. But then, after that, I think I was quite happy. Unlike Jed, I felt like Kyogo would play in the sort of 10 role. I felt Haksabanovic would go out wide, albeit that I feel you get more for Haksabanovic through the middle, but I also feel you get more for Kyogo through the middle. So it was a toss-up between the two. I was quite happy with the lineup, and I thought they'd done okay, but I don't think. I mean, it's a hard one. It's only one game. They maybe need a run of games playing alongside each other. I don't think it worked brilliantly, but then at the same time, you're playing against a well-organised, compact defence. I know we had our chances throughout the game, but I think it was hard to find the spaces and stuff. I think if you've seen them, I don't think he'll do it, but I think if you've seen them playing, in fact, no, I wouldn't even say against Livingston because they're similar, compact and that. But a domestic game, if you've seen them getting a run of games like that, I think you would maybe see it coming more to fruition, the partnership, the link-up. I think the other night, just a one-off game, it's difficult. But I was happy with the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go back to a point here Beach Boys made. How many chances of shots have the opposition had against us in the 5 games? People make it out we're dominating for 90 minutes and their goalies are having worldies. We played 30 minutes a game, like Jed. I'm of the opinion, the way Beach Boys has come across, he makes a great point in that fact because stats, as Tony McLaughlin said in their previous Stats Drop episode, can lead you astray and somewhat you're thinking your team's performing better and that type of stuff. For me, getting into this European campaign, we did the obviously live reaction to the draw. We were giving their opinions, and I don't think any of us said 4th place. Let's be honest. No one looked at that and went, you know what? I want Celtic to finish 4th place.
You're not going to, though.
Well, I mean, but if you're being realistic, you think you can go up against Leipzig and Shakhtar and get results. And if we bring it back to what Beach Boy said there, I do believe that sometimes we're made out to be unbelievable at the minute with our pressing and stuff like that in European football. But it does tail off. That's a concern for me. Is it a concern for yourself? Because when that tails off, we become vulnerable, and usually that's when we can see goals. Yeah.
Of course, yeah, as a concern. I'll be honest, when the draw was made, I thought the best we could do was finish 3rd and then get in the Europa League. Because, like any German teams we play, they are so technical on the ball. When they played us at Celtic Park, very calm, bringing it out.
I've lost it. Have we lost him, Ross? Do you think so?
I think we have. Aye.
Jed, if you get to hear us, try and leave the studio and come back in again.
Yeah,
sorry. You're back. You're back.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
Yeah, I just feel as though that I wasn't expecting too much this season in the Champions League. I was realistic. Yeah, because we're playing, let's be honest, we're playing in a substandard league where we're the big fish and we are expected to beat all the opposition in Scotland. When you step up into Europe, and especially the Champions League, it's a different level. But yeah, that's the first half against Real Madrid. We were fantastic. We just the chances didn't fall our way. But I still look at it as a stepping stone to next year. The only thing, I just hope on when we play Real Madrid, because they need to win now to make sure they finish top of the group, that they don't absolutely take goals and goals off us. That's my concern.
Yeah,
I mean, next week.
Kaiser on the last Viewer Takeover, he's right here. He wanted to win it. He was all about ambition, Ross. And I think you do make a great point. Yeah, my grand always says it, who's watching, we're playing in a substandard SPFL. We're coming off these Champions League games. We're going to Dingwall or we're going to Aberdeen or wherever it may be, and you're having to keep your game and levels maximised to play these teams for us. And I think sometimes we get a bit lost in that because I believe we kind of make an excuse in our heads being like, this league hampers our chances. This league's why we're not doing well. Money, finances dictate everything. But there's teams out there in the Champions League, like a Victoria Pleasant, for example, Maccabi Haifa, they were getting results. And I know, and Club Brugge, and I know they've been in the group stage far more often than we have in the last couple of seasons. But there's no doubt in my head, if we were playing Maccabi Haifa or Club Brugge, we'd probably take a couple of points off them. Like, so what's the difference in that aspect? Because you can't say in one argument, yeah, the league's hampering us and finances dictate a lot of things when there's teams, Ross, that can actually do it on a lower budget than us.
Well, I think you answered your own question in that. The difference is that they've participated in it for the last number of years, unlike us. And Ange came in and took over a team in absolute disarray. And I mean, if you go by what everybody told us last season, we should not have won that league last season, but we did, and we won a cup. So, by rights, we're probably, and I'm not making excuses here, but by rights, we're probably in that Champions League a year sooner than most realistic people would think. I think we've done okay. I'm not making any excuses. I think we could have done better if we'd finished our chances, but you're not going to tell me that, like, we haven't got an opportunity to go and win this league again, and we've now got an opportunity where we don't have to qualify, and winning the league, it propels us right into the tournament again. And the same thing will happen. We all spoke about it in the summer when we knew we were going straight into the tournament. The board spent the money because they knew it was there. Mm-hmm. They never spent all the money, don't get me wrong, but they've backed Ange, in my opinion, to the best of their ability. Most of what he's asked for, he's got. And he's took the squad onto the next level for where he took over. So the next step is win this league and get another shot at going straight into the Champions League. And again, we knowing that we're guaranteed the Champions League. So again, and by the way, they don't need to, it's not about buying as many players now. It's about just adding maybe 3 or 4 bits of quality just to again take us to the next level. Because that's Angel no accept. No moving on and getting better. He'll not accept that, and he'll just say, look, if he's want to just stand still at this, then I'm out. I've told you my vision. There's no doubt in my mind he has told that board his vision when he came in. And if you don't meet my ambition, then I'll move on. And by the way, if he wasn't doing the job, then fair enough. But he is doing the job. And the next step is have another go at it next season and get better and be better. And if we aren't better, then that's when questions will start to get asked. And questions are getting asked now, rightly so. They're no winning games in the Champions League. But at the same time, like Ged says, you have to have that element of realism and realise that where we are and where we've came from and where we want to be. And I would say at the moment, we're sort of in that middle section. You're going for absolutely rank rotten to maybe making an impact in this tournament. But I say maybe because we could add 3 or 4 bits of quality, but it doesn't guarantee success in that tournament because it is so difficult to play against the top teams. That's just my opinion.
I think Alistair Jackler came in where a year ahead of this was.
Yeah.
The league and stuff was meant to be one as well. Well said, Ross. And I think Kaiser is out with a few fishing hooks tonight. Does anyone feel Lance has reached his peak and took as far as he can? What a question. But Jed, we'll talk about some player performances. And one thing I do want to get stuck into because I think it's interesting and it gets brought up every week, but it's more and more coming to the fore now with the two of them playing together at the minute. Giakoumakis and Kyogo in the Champions League. Now, Giakoumakis took his goal, obviously one touch again, finished it bottom right corner, I believe, kind of a snapshot, took his chance well. He hasn't really started most of the Champions League games. I believe, for me personally, he should have been given more chances. I don't know if it would have led to more goals. I mean, the stats again says 71% of the games that Giakoumakis plays, he scores in, compared to 56% of Kyogo. Where do you stand on that kind of argument? I know, for me personally, I'm going to hang my hat on Giakoumakis starting more games. I think he's more of a clinical finisher. Kyogo's just going through a bad spell.
Well, I think on previous podcasts when I've been commenting, I do feel Giakoumakis is the number one. I think he's a more natural goal scorer. His record in Holland before he came is phenomenal. Leading goal scorer for a team that was relegated. And give him a chance, he will score. The guy, I mean, like there was commented Monday night when he scored his goal against Hearts. I think he was ready to knock somebody out. He was so pumped up. You need that. Now, Kyogo's been great, but he's not a natural finisher. Giakoumakis is. So I would, for the big games, I would always start Giakoumakis.
See, if you look back in the Champions League campaign, think it's a mistake maybe we didn't start him more?
Yeah, but you can understand, again, why Ange, he's, he wanted Kyogo, he knows how he's quick, he can cause problems, try and get him in between the defenders, but a lot of times we weren't getting the ball to him as often he would probably like.
Mm-hmm.
So Giakoumakis is a more ruffle him up, create space for other people as well to come in. But I can understand why Ange will play Kyogo. But my personal opinion is Giakoumakis for me all the time.
Yeah, I think Giakoumakis, his record speaks for itself, Ross, and it's no slam on Kyogo. People may think we're saying Kyogo doesn't deserve a first team spot. That's not what we're saying at all. Me personally, I know you, Jed, as well, are just going by form of what we're seeing with the eye. If I look back to the Champions League campaign, I'm thinking Giakoumakis takes a couple of them opportunities. For example, the one where he played Kyogo through, and I know he mishit it, but it's like one of them ones. If he had the confidence and the assurance he did himself last season, would have been a chip over the keeper. And I think Giakoumakis would have that mindset to do that because he's more of a reaction type finisher. He loves doing the one-touch finishes. Is it a hindsight thing we're looking back on here saying this, or is it just plain to see that Giakoumakis would have scored more goals in this campaign?
But Ross, remember last season, I can't even remember who we played when it was the afternoon kick-off a year ago in a midweek. And Kyogo, with the through ball from, was it Jota, played the pass.
Yeah, Jota.
And he finished it. Would he have finished that saying one other night? No, he wouldn't, because his confidence has gone a little bit. But when he's on song, he's fantastic. He's just been off form a little bit. I do think if he starts getting the goals, he'll get back there. But now Giakoumakis has got to start.
Go ahead, Ross.
I mean, I can't disagree with that. I think at the moment, Kyogo is out of form. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I think that Giakoumakis, I'm just sort of reiterating what Jed said, I think he's the best finisher of the two. I think he's the more natural finisher. In terms of that chance, you spoke about that Kyogo, Giakoumakis put him through in goal. I don't even think that Giakoumakis dinks it over the keeper. I don't know if he's got that in his locker. I think he puts his laces through it and the keeper doesn't save it. He puts it to the side of him with accuracy. I don't think he's got that dink in his locker. I don't think it's not the type of finish he does. I've not seen him score a goal like that. But, I mean, somebody said in the comments there, I don't know who it was, Kyogo was amazing last year. He's not a striker this year. The fans are so fickle. I totally agree with that. Kyogo is out of form. That is it at the moment. but he's still a really, really good player. And totally agree with Ged. When he gets, I know he got that goal against Motherwell, but I mean, fuck, I could have scored that. But when he does get that one where you're like, right, that's me back in the goals, he'll come good again. But, I mean, I think you asked something along the lines of if Giakoumakis had played more, would he have taken a lot of the chances? The one against Leipzig, the header, when Haksabanovic plays it in for Kelgo, I think he scores that all day long. Easy.
Yep.
I think if Giakoumakis scores that chance that comes to him near the end in Poland against Shakhtar, I think if he scores that, he gets more minutes in the Champions League, but he doesn't take that chance, and it doesn't force Postecoglou's hand at that stage. I think if he scores that, then his hand is forced, because Kyle goes out of form even then, and he has to play him like he's doing now, because over the last number of weeks, he's putting the ball in net and Kyle goes no, and that's forced his hand. I think if he scores that chance, it maybe forces his hand earlier, and we maybe get more success. But you don't know. It's all ifs and buts. At the end of the day, it's a league campaign, but it's a mini league. And Celtic played brilliantly in spells. But the league table doesn't lie. Celtic could have got more if they'd taken their chances, but they didn't. And the teams they played did take their chances. So we're where we deserve to be in that sense. But I'm happy with how they performed, and I'm filled with hope that they are going in the right direction. There's absolutely no doubt about it. People talk about the process and all that. Trust the process. It's not about trusting the process for me now. I already trust the process. It's about, I've said it in previous podcasts, we're doing that, and I'm quite happy with the trajectory of the team at the minute. It's no super quick trajectory like Martin O'Neill had, but he spent a lot more than Ange Postecoglou, and I know the teams that he beat, but at the end of the day, he still didn't get out of the group. A bit of luck and stuff like that, he might have, but I'm quite happy with where this team are. I'm quite content. I'm not worried. They're getting better and better all the time. They started this season on absolute fire. They had the Champions League. By the way, I see that it really annoys me. Right, people get upset with this. Trust the process. He's just said it's an Ian Driver. Sorry, I don't know who it was that put the comment on.
Frank Brennan.
I don't even say trust the process. I can't mind the last time I heard anybody, any of my pals, anybody in my circle saying trust the process. Like, it's no trust the process now. The process is in motion, and I already trust it. No, I'd say trust. I know. Apparently, no. Like, it's not about trusting the process now. I already trust. I trusted the process when we won the CIS Cup. No, the CIS Cup. God Almighty, whatever it is, the League Cup, the Premier Cup. Showing my age there. I trusted the process when we won that, right? And I trusted the process when we won a league title that nobody gave us a hope in hell of winning. Now, the process for me is working, but it's still a process we're in the midst of. And I've said it. We started there. We won the cup. We went there. We won the league. We went there. We went into the Champions League. And by the way, when that draw was made, it was initially, I thought third place, that would be great. Right, I'm just going to shut up. Everybody's getting right. You know what I'm saying? It's not about trusting the process. We already trust it. And people who get upset about that, if I've got a chip in their shoulder or something, or they think it makes them sound clever asking about that. We're in the midst of a process. We all trust it. And if you didn't trust it, you didn't get football.
You trust the team are
playing brilliant.
You trust the process, but don't say trust the process. It is a process. We're progressing every year. We're in the process. We love the process. Trust the process. That's all we got there. Us absolutely love it.
I know.
But I mean,
fucking. You know what I'm saying, man?
Yeah, 100%. See, to be fair with Jed as well, what Ross is saying, I mean, he brought me on to the next bit perfectly fine. I wanted to touch on a couple more players before we get there, but we will get there. Juranovic, Jed, got a lot of stick for Mudryk not taking him down in that kind of phase of play where he cut in and got that goal. Much like Ross, I believe Joe Hart should have done better. There's been a few questionable saves or not saves, in my opinion, in this Champions League campaign. But in the footage, what I seen on TV, it looked like he was going to go in, change his mind last minute, stood him up, and people are saying that's the way you have to play. But then he let him get inside with no pressure at all. He gets the strike away. It's the final blow to our Champions League campaign. For me, it just wasn't quite good enough. There needed to be a bit more commitment and even go for the tackle, take him out if you have to, take the hit for the team. You were at the game. What was the feeling at that point?
Yeah, like I say, I sit at the opposite end, and Juranovic let him go in the inside, and then he just hit it. But I mean, we're talking about Kyogo not being playing well. Juranovic hasn't been playing well for a wee while, because I would have been quite happy if Ralston had started the other night, because he definitely has not been one of our better players, Juranovic. And at times he gets caught. I suppose it's the system we're playing. He gets caught up the park at times, and then if a ball just gets thrown over the back, that's it. But he definitely maybe a little bit tighter on him. But saying that guy is absolute quality. He just dinked it past him and bang. And what can we do?
But I know you say that. I know you say that, Jed. But there was people in this Champions League game that thought we were dripping with quality, and like Yada would have made more of an impact than he did. Like Kyogo would have made more impact than he did. So is it a case of maybe the players for Celtic believing in themselves a bit more? I know Mudryk was brilliant, right? He had the pace, he was lightning, he was skillful, and he scored a cracking goal. But surely Celtic can aim to that level as well.
But these guys, well, both of them are foreigners, so I can't imagine they're reading a lot of press. Do they believe in the hype surrounding it before? At the start of the season, Juranovic was going away for mega millions. So was he believing the hype a little bit himself? He was getting asked by the reporters, were you believing in things like that? Because it was discussed on here. So was he believing that hype a wee bit himself? I think, I'm only, I just feel he hasn't been playing well for a wee while. And then
that's a great point. That's a great point, Ed and Ross. I like you to come in this one as well. Is Juranovic maybe believing in what he's reading in terms of £16 million moves to Chelsea, moves to Manchester United? Was his head turned at that point? For me, he hasn't been quite on form. There is glimpses of him coming back to what he's used to and stuff like that in terms of what we're used to seeing. But Champions League level, Ross, I don't think he's been great.
No. I don't think he's performed great most of the season. I don't think he's been terrible. I don't think he was terrible the other night. I don't think he was absolutely at fault for the goal the other night. You say, does he believe the hype of the supposed offers? There's not been an offer for Kyogo, so nobody's saying, is he believing the hype about the offers? Apparently there's been an offer for Juranovic, so the first thing you go to is he believing the hype about the offers? I think it's similar to Kyogo. He's maybe a bit out of form. He came in and he performed immensely, like a lot of the team did last year. And the team are still performing to a really high level. Just not quite. But, well, domestically, I think they are still performing to that level. But everybody seems to think that they're performing worse because they're playing in this Champions League and they forget the quality player that they're playing against. For me, the goal the other night, you've got Mudryk, absolutely rapid, right? He's a world-class player. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
Can I stop you there, though? Can I stop you there a wee second? Studs Lanigan came in and said, we allowed him that space, and I think that's totally correct. We were culpable for allowing him
But that wasn't Juranovic's fault. He was caught out of position. The defence was exposed because most of them were out of position because Hatate gave the ball away. They were attacking, exactly, aye. He gives the ball away, and like that, they're on us because that is their game. That is what they live off of. That's what they feed off of. That's what they want. That's why they sit in. Hatate gives the ball away. straight away, they get the ball to Mudryk. I don't know if there's a pass in between that, I can't mind. And at that, him running at you for just inside our half, I think, you're exposed and you're backtracking. And I think for me, he does his very best to show Mudryk out wide, but Mudryk just shifts it. And like Juranovic sort of running back, he can't find his feet because he's trying to usher him out wide, but he just shifts it, comes inside, and at that, I challenge anybody to try and defend that when a guy's running you at pace, running at you like that at pace.
Take him out.
You're not take him out. He's trying to usher him out wide. He's shifted it, and Juranovic can't adjust his body to then take him out. He's already shifted it and he's past him, and you can't, I don't know what the word is, but you can't allow for that shot that he strikes. It's a tremendous shot. But then, again, and it's I'm only saying Joe Hart could have done better. I'm not saying he should have done better. I just felt, even if he gets a glove on it, because it's not that far away from him, it might take it away from the goal. He might just get a glove on it and it's got that much pace on it that it still goes in. I just felt he could have done a wee bit better. I think it was quite close to him. And I think sometimes, one-on-ones when Joe Hart rushes out to you, he's absolutely brilliant. I think shot stopping, sometimes it's questionable. And I felt it was slightly questionable the other night. But at the same time, it was a brilliant run. Takes out 1, 2, maybe 3 defenders with one shift of the ball. No, one shift of the ball, he takes out Juranovic. And there's nothing he can do about it. And then his strike takes out the other 2 defenders. It's a world of a strike, but it's not right in the top corner, and it's came for about 20 odd yards. Hart could maybe do better, but maybe I'm being picky.
No, I do get what you're saying. I mean, we're going to different avenues tonight, and we're going to go down another one here, Jed. McGranda's come in, and I think this is quite interesting. How does this team compare with Strachan's team, Jed, in terms of European football? We speak about, obviously, we're getting into this campaign and we're playing against world-class players. We've seen Gordon Strachan's team get into the campaigns against like Milan, your Barcelonas, your Manchester Uniteds, your Benficas, who were on, like they were top 10 at that time in terms of Cardozo and all up front. Cracking players in that team. We managed to get through the groups twice. Arguably, probably our most successful period with Strachan at that type of time since probably the Seville run and all that type of stuff and leading up to now as well. So this is what really gets me sometimes when people say we're learning this, we're learning that. A team of Paul Hartley and Barry Robson and like the likes of Evanders, Paul Telfer, drip with a bit of quality like Nakamura, obviously, and you have Scott McDonald, who was a fantastic goal scorer in terms of poaching. But where does this team compare to that?
Well, you've got, I think the main difference is between Strachan's team and Angie's team. Strachan was more structured. You know, they didn't have the inverted fullbacks going up, so that we weren't getting caught out down the wings. You know, the right back wasn't up almost playing the number 10 role at times in Strachan's team. They never had that. So they were more structured, they were not as quick at moving the ball as Angie's team. I just think it was down to they stayed in their positions where they were meant to be. Defenders were defending. The right back and left back weren't shooting up all the time and being in just like the number 10 role. That's what I think the main difference between that. They were just, apart from Nakamura was probably the superstar in the team. You know, they were like, you know, they would run through a brick wall. You know, nothing fancy. But I just felt they were more organised defensively than the way Ange sets up his team.
Well, then that brings me back to this, Jed, as well. Just looking back at it, Stubbsy Horse here. Strachan played the team tactics for the team he faced. He didn't stick to the philosophy the way Ange does. Now, if I look at the Shakhtar game, right?
That's a very good point.
If I look at the Shakhtar game, Jed, just in like an isolated incident, they played really well, like smartly. The 2 banks of 4. Their strikers drop back, and then the head is quick on the counter attack. The way I look at that is, and look, I know Ange has his style. I know we all love it. We play some of it as a football, But sometimes in European football, I think we need a bit more streetwise, a bit more smart about our pressing, especially in the final third. If we're pressing from the top forward, the gaps between midfield defence are incredible at times. And Ross rightly said, we were out of position for the first goal, which led to a Tate misplacing that pass. Bang, we're done. But if you look at Shakhtar, right, they were so compact, back to front, midfield to the forwards, and they hit us all the time. Why could we, at Celtic, not do that with the likes of Maida on the wing? So you said Mudryk, unbelievable speed. We've got a speedster in our team. Why could we not play a wee bit deeper? And I know it might not be pretty, right? And it might not be amazing. But why could we not play that two banks of four, two forwards, let them come to us, and then counter-attack like most European teams do?
Well, I think you're right. If we could, if I had to ask Ange to do anything, it is in certain games we maybe need to be a more bit defensive minded. That we're not all up attacking all the time and leaving space for these teams to exploit us. Because even we've seen in some of the Scottish games, a ball's been put over the top, and we're like, shit, they're going to score. So yes, I do think he needs to change it. But is it the Kevin Keegan style of football he wants? If they score 2, we'll score 3. It's just out and out attack. Well, maybe hopefully next season he'll learn from it and be a bit more tactical, and he'll play a system for whatever team we're playing. We're not playing. Somebody says we're playing the same system all the time. We need to then change it per team.
Yeah,
if we're up against a quicker team, we need to then match that. Have an extra person in the midfield, or go at 5 at the back.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because there has to be different systems. Sorry, Ross, 2 wee seconds. That's what I address what Anthony said here. Different times, nonsense to compare. Anthony, again, sorry, buddy, but I think you're being ignorant to the 2 different styles of teams here. What I'm suggesting is, right, I'm a Granda. We looked at a team like Strachan's, Ross, and we talked about world-class players. Come on. Are you telling me the likes of Shakhtar would have got results against United or Benfica or Barcelona or Milan back then? And they were littered with talent. I mean, this isn't Shakhtar's full team we're talking about. They're missing players because of the war that's happening. They're missing Brazilian players. They're missing all sorts of players who at the end of the day, could have come in that team, and it could have been a different result. They could have beat us. So I don't know where all this is coming from, the fact that we're being a wee bit shut off to the fact that we maybe have to tweak something in European football to get more results. I don't get it.
Right, well, you spoke about there, right, about playing 2 banks of 4, for instance, right? Tell me who you're going to play as a midfield 4 to go defensive in that Celtic squad, because Ange hasn't bought players to play like that. He's bought players to play one way. Right, put it this way, right? If we were going to play that game, right, the other night, and he started with the back 4 he started with, right? And then he played a midfield 4, I don't know, maybe Abelgard, Hatate, a couple of sitters, right? Whoever it would be, right? Maybe a McCarthy. That lineup came out, you would go off your banger. You would go off your absolute.
It wouldn't be that. You do not need to set up with defense. You do not need to set up with defensive men. Well, a tight, rigid system.
You're not going to tell me that Hatate and O'Reilly are going to play in a bank of 4.
O'Reilly's been the 6, and he's been our most defensive player.
No, they're not going to do that. No, for me anyway. I'm
not. Go ahead. Sorry. No.
I was just going to say as well. No, I thought you were going to talk, so I was taking. But you compared it to the Strachan era, right? See, when Strachan took over, a fair people say, and he did downsize, right? He downsized for a team that got to a European final, right? Yep. First and foremost. So downsizing, okay, he did downsize, but he downsized to still a pretty good team that made an impact in Europe. But see, when Gordon Strachan came in, what? He didn't make an impact in Europe.
But he made an impact in Europe. He made an impact in Europe. It was at Bratislava.
Well, that's what I was coming to.
Go ahead,
they lost 5-0 over in Bratislava, trying to qualify for the Champions League when he first came in. And okay, they won 4-0 back at home, but didn't they get there? So they had they had that year to then get ready, and they made an impact. Ange got to the Champions League, and that team that Ange took over was nothing like the team that Gordon Strachan. I know there was a bit of a rebuild there and a bit of a downsize, but the team that Ange Postecoglou took over there wasn't in the same realm as the team that Gordon Strachan took over. So right away, he's ahead. Ange Postecoglou has got to the Champions League a year before any has thought he should have. You've got to give him time. You've got to be patient in terms of Europe. He's doing it in the league. Europe, we just need a bit more patience, in my opinion. And I think it's unfair to compare the Strachan team to the Ange Postecoglou team at this moment in time.
No, that's fair enough. I just really at the point where I was coming from. We went into that kind of them campaigns with less glossy players than we have now, arguably, because we've got the likes of Kyogo, Maeda, all them types of guys, flash names, Atate, etc. Working into the Champions League campaign with the likes of Hartley and Robson, and we're still getting results, but we can't do it with players who are going to be better than them players in their time. But just to kind of round it off here, it's not either all out attack or parking the bus, so you can be hard to break down. Then you win the ball, play expansive football, out attack with no defensive cover is suicide football. Yeah, Beast Boys, that's where maybe I was coming from. There needs to be a more streetwise spot and how we're going to get results, because you can't play against. Yeah, and I hope it does. I hope this is a learning curve. I really do. I do.
But by the way,
Abigail, and he was going to be the defensive midfielder, but he's hardly played. You know,
but Ange has said that him and Haksabanovic and that you'll see the best of them in the second half of the season because they've not really had a pre-season. But see the Strachan team. See, I don't know. I mean, you didn't know for sure, but I'm not so sure that they would get out of group now. Like, football, I think, in the last 20 years, has changed dramatically. And I think the way this Celtic team is trying to play is suited to the way football has changed. And I think that with a wee bit more quality, they will do better. But I think the way Stratton's team played, the teams they were playing against weren't as expansive as the teams that Celtic are playing against now.
Yeah, I 100% get your argument that football's changed, but again, that could be said for every type of era, the 90s to the 80s,
which
70s,
is why you
60s.
Shouldn't compare the teams.
But what I'm saying is, it's just merely the player, Ged, and I'll come to you for this to kind of round it off, because I'm actually enjoying the chat. There's loads of people in the comments getting involved. Ross is actually sat up paying attention. What do you think, Ged, in terms of that there? That's a joke, by the way, Ross.
Didn't get it.
I mean, I've followed Celtic since Jock Stein was the manager. Since I first started going to games with my dad. So I've seen 15 managers out of the club's 18 managers in the whole 134 years. I've followed Celtic when there's 15 of them. There's been good times and bad times. Even with Martin O'Neill and Gordon Strachan, we conceded late goals as well, silly goals. I'm giving Ange a little bit of leeway now because it's his first season in Europe. But next year, or in the Champions League, first season in the Champions League, next year I will be looking for improvement. And what you said, Stephen, is do we set out a team that we're playing whatever team we're playing, we're going to have to set it up. We can't go the same way all the time because these teams will pick us off. The only way we can do that is if we convert the chances. The 68 shots we've had in goal, in 22 of them in target, it needs to be, instead of 8 goals, it needs to be 15 goals. That's the only way that we can win. Like I mentioned earlier, the Kevin Keegan philosophy of football. They score 4, we'll score 3. But unfortunately, we can't do that at the moment. We just get the team playing together a little bit longer. And next year, I will expect to see a difference. At the beginning of this season, we're all thinking, God, Ange, his second season is meant to be even better than the first, anywhere he's been. Now, Europe's not been that. But if we turn around and win the treble this year, it's an improvement. And if we all, at the beginning of the season, if we had asked everybody, look, we're going to get knocked out of the Champions League, we won't get through the group stages, but we're going to win the treble. How many? We would all bite your hand off for that. So we've just got to hope to do that.
by the way, I 100% agree with everything you've just said there, Ged. But you said that Europe hasn't been an improvement this year. I would argue it possibly has. Now I know
Results
we
haven't.
scored.
Sorry.
Results haven't, but performance
Performances.
level, I think
First
against
half,
a higher
that was-
quality team, I think it's improved. I don't think that Celtic team that played in the Europa League group stage last season could have performed as well as this team have against any of the teams in this group this year. The team for last year, I don't think could have. I think that's an improvement still.
Fair point. I was thinking more of the results rather than.
I know, I understand that. I understand that.
Each game where we have been great, really good, but we've just not been able to keep it going.
Yeah, 100%. And the kind of round off the campaign, and I know we've got a dead rubber against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, Ross, which I don't really, to be honest, not really have the buzz about. I don't. I just think it's going to be one of them games we're going to go and, I don't know, hopefully spring a surprise. But there was one thing I did want to touch upon. I've been quite vocal about it, as you all know on the podcast. I was quite confident about our chances in European football, and I said anything out with any European football after Christmas is a failure, in my opinion. At this level, for us, we should be aiming benchmark third, pole position second. That's where we should be all the time. We'll have the players to do that. Jay, you make a great point, and I really do agree with you on that. Converting chances would make a big difference to this group and had turned out 110%. But to come to yourself, Ross, first in this one. Now, yeah, I get it. There's been flashes. Yeah, we've all talked about it. No European football after Christmas for Celtic Football Club for me isn't good enough.
It's disappointing. Absolutely. But I think if we go back to it all the time, if we converted our chances, then we would probably have European football after Christmas. It's been a long, long time. I can't remember the last time when Celtic didn't have European football after Christmas. And there's been seasons past where I wouldn't have accepted it because I've never seen a Celtic team with such an identity as they have now. And I understand you just want them to change in certain games and all that. I get it. But I've never seen a team with such an identity. I've never seen a manager with he just knows where this. He's got a vision of where this team wants to be. He's thinking a couple of years ahead, 2-3 years. All the managers in the past are in the moment this season, and I get it. It's your next game and all that. I can see where the team's going, or where Ange wants the team to go, and if he's backed, I think he can take the team to where he wants them to be. And I mean, that's not going to be a Champions League final or that. Of course it's no. But
sorry, are you reading
that?
No, sorry, go
ahead. Oh, sorry. Fuck yeah, they went toe to toe the other night according to James Tavernier, but that's another story. But what were we saying again? I lost my train of thought.
We were basically, I came to you about the European being a failure. You were saying that basically he's looking at this as a process again. You know what
I mean? I just feel like if he's backed enough, and I'm not saying copious amounts of money, and I'm not saying we'll get to a Champions League final, but I've watched, and this sounds like I'm being a fucking know-all. I don't mean to sound like that. I've watched Celtic for many years, and I've watched Celtic when they didn't have European football after Christmas, and it's because they were absolutely shite. They were getting put off. I mean, I can't mind exactly. They maybe get put out teams like fucking Kosice or Sadova or something like that in the UEFA Cup.
No, right? The Damax 5-1. That was grim. Going back many years ago.
Well, you can better me, but you get my point. Yeah. At the times previously when Celtic didn't have European football after Christmas, they were a poor side, and there was no vision. You didn't know where they were going to go. This is the first time in a long time Celtic haven't had European football after Christmas. But I'm okay with it this year because I understand that we have got a vision. We're on a journey, and I believe that we can get maybe know where Angie's expectation sinks, because he's like that. He believes that he can take them anywhere he wants. It'll no be that, right? But if they can get out of Champions League group again in the next 2 years, that would be amazing. And that is, I believe this team can go and do that. And that's why at this moment in time in the journey, I'm okay with not having European football after Christmas. But they have to kick on now in terms of domestic football. And by the way, if they don't get a treble, that's not a failure of a season, because a treble is a very hard thing to do. We normalised that over the last number of years. But if they get, certainly the league, that's a must. I don't see any way we can't win the league. If we get another cup on top of that, I still think we've progressed, because we've done the same. We've done the same as last season domestically, but we've got that experience in the Champions League under our belt now. That's progression for me at this moment in time.
But Ross, I may have put a comment up a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the Champions League. Man United didn't qualify in the first 3 seasons of the Champions League. You know, it takes time. Now, I'm not comparing us to I'm just using that as an example. Like I say, next year we're looking for improvement. So fingers crossed, we win the league, then we can move on and see where we go from there.
So are you effectively saying that? I know you mentioned that the European champion last season said, and quite coincidentally, because we got knocked out of so many European competitions, we ended up in Europe after Christmas.
I know.
But that's again, see as well. Like, people will see me nodding along to what you're saying, Ross. I can see 100% what you mean and where you're coming from. I think it's just about a difference of opinion. I'm just thinking, Jed, that it was there. Maybe next year, I know people say there's improvement, but that's not guaranteed, because the teams around you will improve. And then is there that gap increasing again? And then we're going to say again, we're going to improve, and then they improve again, and it gets year on year, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So as Ross said, we have to step up, we have to finish this league. But before we get on to that, come back to yourself again. Are you disappointed? Or is it one of them things like Ross, you kind of can see the bigger picture and all this?
Yeah, I'm disappointed, but I'm looking at the bigger picture. The league for me is always a priority. Always. Europe is a bonus. So you've just got, yes, we would like to have been in Europe after Christmas, but I'm not too bothered about it now, because we move on now. My concern was, if we qualified for the Europa League, it's then getting to this Sunday scenario game. We're probably playing catch up. And psychologically, that can be bad. I mean, I remember the time, maybe some of the older guys maybe mind, when Tommy Burns was the manager, when Celtic were in the Europa League, when they first moved it to a Thursday night, you had to play on a Saturday, not a Sunday. And we lost that league that year by a point. But we had to play a Thursday and then a Saturday. So it's always I don't like Thursday night football. So in that way, I'm glad we're not, because it means we can concentrate in the league. Yeah, but it got us more exposure, more money. But what then? There's no guarantee for the next round. We could have got pumped out anyway. And then it's, you've been knocked out of 2 tournaments again. I personally don't agree with people. If you get knocked out of the Champions League, you shouldn't go into the Europa League. Knocked out of the Europa League, shouldn't go into the Conference League. You shouldn't do that.
100%.
And I don't believe, and again, it bugs me, this Champions League. It should be champions. We're in a group. We were in a group this year. Real Madrid was champions. Shakhtar was champions. Leipzig weren't. Rangers were in a group where there was only one champion, Ajax. Liverpool and Napoli weren't champions. A joke. It should only be champions that's in the Champions League. But it's all money now. All money.
Yeah. Jed, you must be.
That's going to bring you perfectly on here.
You must be doing this on purpose, because you bring up Champions League. It should be champions, money, ball, it's real football. And do you know what, Jed? Just for that, I'm going to come straight back to you, because there's been whimpers. Ross is laughing. What a segue!
Right.
Jed. 100%. But yeah, there has been talk again of this European Super League, Jed, arising its head from the pit of despair that was left in last season. Obviously, a lot of the big clubs, I think they're trying to leave the English clubs behind now and kind of go out themselves. And they're trying to, according to the rumours and stuff like that, include Celtic and Rangers. Now, the reason why I find this interesting is you spoke about it very early on in the podcast, mentioning the quality of the SPFL. We're never going to get far in that. Money, finances and stuff. So from that base then, should you support that kind of notion that we could go into a European Super League with these clubs?
Right. Well, Ross, I'll ask you a question on this. If they do start this up, it'll probably be 2 divisions. It'll be the Premiership and the Championship. Do you think we're going to be in the Premiership? I personally don't. No, Stephen, sorry.
All right, sorry.
I think they'll put, they'll have it like, they'll have two leagues. You'll have a Premiership and a Championship. And they'll put us in the Championship. Now, yes, that will generate money, but I don't think we'll be in with the big boys. We'll then need to, it'll be like, promoted next year. The top 2 or 3 will then get promoted. So
yeah, I get what you're saying, right? In terms of this,
I've not heard much about it. I've just heard what you've heard. So until I actually see what it's going to be, are they really going to leave out Liverpool, Chelsea?
Well, I think the backlash that they received from their fans was quite telling. I don't think they're going to go anywhere near it. I know Barcelona and Juventus, Madrid, obviously they're facing money issues, so they're looking for any excuse, Ross, to get out of their leagues and join something that resembles, maybe, as Jed said, they're like a 2-tier type system, from promotion relegation type thing. And Joe Finlay, SPFL, seriously ranked rotten. Join anything, Ross? Are you on them lines, or what way are you thinking?
Well, I've never heard you said that earlier on, but the fine looks spot on, and it is. It's hitting the spot, kid. You'd said earlier on about Celtic and Rangers getting into. I've never heard anything about it. Jed makes a good point. The way the Super League was initially, like how they were going to have it, was totally wrong. It was no way. It was for the big wigs, the European big wigs. They were going to get better. The gap was going to get bigger. It was going to ruin football. The way Jed's sort of talking about it, I don't know if that's just Jed's opinion, or if that's what's been spoke about. If it was like a 2-tier system, and other teams could get into it, and they were able to get like promotion and relegation, where other teams could get in and out, because it was just like shut off that first one.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding it. So I would maybe be more on board with that, but at the same time, I really can't see it happening. I really can't see Celtic and Rangers being invited along to it. I would love
the Celtic board will be rubbing their hands if this.
The Celtic board would take it in a heartbeat. Of course they would, because they're running. At the end of the day, it's a business, and that propels their business.
We don't know what it entails yet. It's just a discussion.
No, of course you don't.
But
for me,
it will be a 2-tier system.
Listen, I think that would work better, and it would be fairer, and it would open it up for everybody to get a piece of the pie, if you like. But whether it happens, I think it's been spoke about that much that is going to happen at some point. How it happens, how it's set out, will have to be discussed at length, and it'll have to be fair for everybody in football. Otherwise, football's done.
The weird thing is,
it's got to be fair for everybody. It's the Champions League is
no fair than now, aye.
It's only 4 leagues. Germany, Spain, Italy, England. 4 teams get in it. Joke. Aye. Absolutely.
You're bang on, Jed. Aye.
But Jed, you make the point there. I know the Champions League is reforming in the 2024 and 25 season, and to be fair, coincidentally, that's going to look like a league as well. They're going to have like 24 teams in it. There's going to be matches across the board against all these different teams. But this brings it back to the wider argument. And we haven't really spoken about this a lot in the podcast, right? McGrath is a big believer in it. He says for Celtic to improve and kind of get better, we need out of the SPFL, right? But I'm more of the realist, being like, we're never really going to go to that league. We've talked about England before. They shut it off. The cross-Atlantic leagues, they've shut it off. And I know there's talk of the Dutch League and the Belgian League combining at some point, so that would be interesting to see if that works out. But you look at the Super League type of things, is this really probably the only chance? Now, I think Ross is bang on. There's going to be a reform of football really, really soon. otherwise it's going to be finished in terms of finances and trying to fund models and different leagues and all that type of thing. Is it right Celtic should maybe be looking at opportunities to get out of the SPFL? I'm more of a, to be honest with you, Ged, like in a weird, strange way, I do love our league we're in. And it's the romantic side about it. The fans are passionate. There's no fake shit. Everyone's just wanting to win games. I know we talk about refereeing decisions and stuff like that. But for Celtic, the progress as a club, is this the only option?
It will be an option if it comes to fruition. But, I mean, yeah, I know, like I've said earlier as well, the SPL's not a great standard. But when we're playing against the other teams, it's their cup final. So they're trying, like, beasts to beat us. But I honestly, I mean, I was reading something today. Things may change anyway. Sky TV have lost over 250,000 subscribers. If that keeps going, are they going to be able to fund the English League the way they've been doing? No. So the English League could maybe have to change. And they could be looking at other things like the European Super League. So we just don't know what's around the corner. Just money dictates everything.
Yeah. So, see to be fair as well, Jed, I've seen a lot of support in the comments, Ross, for like the type of environment Celtic could be in and what they could face in years to come. And Stubbsy Horse here, football's a bus. We can either wave the train off from the station or be on it, Ross. Now, we talked about before, I know when the Super League came up, we talked about it briefly, obviously, on the podcast, as you call a filler segment. This takes 2 hours, but you look at it, and we talked about it then. We've seen the reaction and backlash from their support. I just don't see there being a backlash, a major one, from the majority of Celtic fans, because I think we all know, as Dad says, money dictates football. We need more money to compete. So is it really a bad option to consider?
I don't think there'd be a backlash, but again, it comes down to how it's laid out and if it's going to be fair for everybody. But in terms of the way it was laid out before, I totally understand why there was a backlash for Liverpool fans, all the fans down south, because it was wrong. It was morally wrong, first and foremost, before anything about football. It wasn't fair on any of the other teams. It was going to leave them in the doldrums. They'd be dead. But what the point that guy makes, Stubbsy sorry, I forget. It's valid, right? Celtic and Rangers they're doing their very best, right? But they're not going to be. I always think, like, if somebody, it's not going to happen, right? But if somebody took over Celtic like Newcastle, right, and they went and won the European Cup, by God, would I love it, right? It'd be amazing, but it'd be diluted. No doubt in my mind it'd be diluted, but I would still embrace it and love it. You don't know when you're going to. I mean, look at the money Man City's got. They've still not done it yet. It's a very difficult thing to do. If Celtic done that, I would love it, but it would be diluted. I want Celtic to do it the right way. But if a Super League comes in and it's all fair, and it's more fair than the current setup of the Champions League, and it allowed Celtic to go to another level where they in terms of the stature of the club, where it could take them to the level where they deserve to be.
I like that.
That would be amazing, aye. It's not going to happen, but it would be amazing. And it was all fair, and it was a level playing field, and Celtic done something like that. It wouldn't be diluted. But it's never going to be a level playing field. And Celtic are never going to be at the top table, at the top level, of that unlevel playing field, if you like, because of the country they play in. Plain and simple. It doesn't matter how they set it up. We'll never be at the Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real Madrid, or the English pricks. Like, we'll never get that level of investment.
I think you're going to say something there, Jed.
Yeah, I mean,
go for it, Jed.
It was Stubbs there, someone put up earlier about you buy a ticket, you want to make sure you're on the train. I agree with him. Of course you want to be on the train. You want to be part of this. Bigger, you want to be in European football, get the name. I mean, that's the Celtic Football Club are massive, worldwide. Been fortunate, when I'm away, going holiday in a country, I try and always visit a supporters club. Always try and do it. We're massive, and if we could get there, it's going to create this. We are going to get bigger again.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of guys say as well, is it thing with the principles of what we probably all believe in? We're a Scottish team. Should we really just stay in Scotland? I don't know. Times change. I just don't want to be left behind. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Aye, 100%.
That's my main gripe with it. Surprisingly enough, like 70%, I would say, of the comments I've seen are for an opportunity like this to arise in terms of looking elsewhere. And I want to go back a few comments just to get people involved. Gary Melrose, the best we can manage in the SPFL is to get the infrastructure in place to be a real development club like Ajax, Bruges, RB, Leipzig, etc. I prefer that to any Super League and abandon principles. Again, that's something as well. We always talked about the Ajax model being probably the most realistic. Joe Finlay, Stephen, what's the different SPFL teams want to win? Camped out Shipley Stadium from our pitches, piss stress, and horrific weather. That for me is why the SPFL is different from the majority of the leagues in world football. There's just something about it. And I remember in school, and I used to get a lot of grief from people that would say, "Oh, Celtic are up in Scotland, blah blah blah," and they would ask me like, "I watch like English league games and stuff." And see if I'm honest, I'd watch some Scottish games over watch EPL games, like the likes of an Edinburgh Derby. I'd watch it. The likes of highlights and stuff, I'd watch them over English games. And I used to get all sorts of grief for that. There's just something about the Scottish League that attracts me, and obviously that's Celtic Football Club. And we know the rest of it. I mean, we're not stupid. We know all the biasm in the country, the media, the backlash from certain things. But again, if it kind of counteract my own point, as I like to do sometimes, I want, as Ged said, not for us to be left behind in football, because I'm fed up of getting into these campaigns and the first headline comes up, we can't compete with wages, we can't compete with finances. If there's a way to make Celtic more money, and we don't have to ditch the principles of the football club, we don't have to ditch it.
That's the thing.
But we can rake in money from other ways instead of getting Saudi Arabian owners or American oil rig owners to buy over a club. We can get it from sponsorship, from being more exposed. We get it from packed out stadiums more often when we go to play these big clubs. Merchandise sales will be through the roof. Signing players from the likes of Japan. Again, we've took advantage of that market. I think there's more to come there. But they come to Ged again. You mentioned it not being left behind. That's the bugbear, isn't it? And the principles of the club as well. People wouldn't be like to be tore away from that.
No, definitely. You want to be with the big guns. I mean, years and years ago, we were the big gun.
Yep.
We were, our history proves that in Europe, what we've done. But I mean, you mentioned earlier as well, Stephen, about the English games. I don't know many English Premiership games I've watched. Jeez, I've seen better junior football games.
Yeah.
The most overhyped league in the world. And I'm a mug, I'm still bloody watch it. Absolute shite. A lot of the games. You even put a lot of the build-up Man City against Chelsea, Chelsea against Man United, Chelsea against Liverpool. Some of these games have been absolute shite.
Yeah.
And it would normally please me more than the money just to come out of there. Because that market with players, I keep bringing up in the commenting on the worst players. I can't get my head round Ola McBurney, 20 million quid. 20 million quid. Honestly, God.
Yes.
The worst. He's one of the worst footballers I've ever seen in my life. 20 million. Now, we all slag Morelos. How much is Morelos worth then if he's worth 20 million? He's surely got to be worth more than that. If you go by English transfer values, it is height to the max.
Yeah. Did you see the new finder? Did you see the new finder getting where you can see like real life stats during the game? It'll like come up like a hieroglyphic type thing. It's been announced, and you'll see like circles around players and distances covered and all that. It's madness. And just to kind of to round it off, Ross and Ged, if you want to get involved in this too, because I can imagine some people may find it a bit controversial. Alistair Jack, a regular listener on the show and watcher, and going to be the next participant in the Viewer Takeover as well, says making money, sell the naming rights, Ross.
Absolutely no fucking danger, man. No chance.
What did Dallas
No
mean by
chance.
selling naming rights? The stadium?
So stadium, do you know why
Aye.
like the new camp's called the Spotify Camp now,
No.
or whatever it's called?
No.
Will that ever entail you in a wee bit? No?
Nope.
Well, if you think about what do you call the stadium?
Call it Parkhead.
Right? Other people call it Celtic Park. Other people call
Mhm.
it Paradise. So it's not got one name. So we
I bet
might, we could, if we had to do anything, it maybe be the stadium then, because there is three different.
I like it. I like him.
You know, something I'll call it. I think, to be honest, I'll call it Parkhead.
so they are.
You know, Paradise. I actually don't think I'd really call it Paradise. But
No.
I would normally say Parkhead. So everybody's calling it different. So then to call it, what did you say, Emirates? You know, Emirates Stadium, Celtic Park. I personally, I know a lot of people wouldn't want it, but if that brings in extra money, if I have to do anything, I would accept that. I would accept that before taking money from Saudi Arabia.
That's interesting, right? The reason why, Ross, and you've seen the big clubs in the world who don't necessarily have money issues, so to speak. I know Barcelona, they're like a kind of against the grain type club who've just lost millions of pounds out of nowhere, right?
Aye.
And me personally, I'm not saying I'm for it, but I'm on the lines of what Jed's saying. If there's a way to make money quick and get the name out there again, maybe 20 million quid, for example, if you're paying for naming rights for our stadium. Not saying I want it in a million years, but I'm just saying it's maybe a possible kind of avenue if we don't want to go in these super leagues and things like that. I know that the new camps like Spotify, whatever arena now, you've got the likes of the Allianz Arena, all changed names. Juventus have done it. Big clubs have done it. And even Arsenal as well, hybrid Emirates. So what's the gripe?
No. Well, I mean, you make the point of the hybrid Emirates. It's a completely different stadium.
I know, but they could have still
spot.
called it. They could have still called it the hybrid or something, but they've called it Emirates for sponsorship.
Aye.
And
But for me, it goes back to the same sort of idea as the Super League, right? And that I want Celtic to progress, and I want them to get to that next level financially and in a footballing sense. But it has to be done the right way. And I don't want the club to lose their identity in doing that. And in selling off the naming rights of the stadium, I think we're losing the identity a wee bit. And it's the same. I know it's going to happen, but again, I go back to if an oil rich guy came in and took over the club. I want Celtic. I want to be how Hearts fans feel when they score against us. Elated, can't believe it's happening. I still want that feeling. Doing that in Europe against teams that we shouldn't be beating. If we get like an oil rich guy, it takes us to the next level, or we get put into a Super League where it's no fair on other teams because we've got a bigger name, and we go to that next level, and it's not on a level playing field. I don't think you get the same that same elation. Probably in the moment. Winning, if you won that big cup again, you would get it. But I just feel like I like being the underdog in Europe and beating the odds, because that's who we are now.
Yeah.
We weren't in the 60s, even the early part of the 70s, but I think that's who we are now, and I like being that team. And I obviously want to do better, but I want to do better in the right way. I don't want to be a Newcastle or a Man City or a fucking Chelsea. It's pish. Chelsea weren't a big club. Man City aren't a big club. They're big clubs in their wee area. But in terms of worldwide,
no,
they didn't even get close to Glasgow Celtic.
What I would say, if it ever got to the stage where the naming rights were sold, to me it would have to be like Celtic Parks sponsored by Emirates.
I could see
Something
that.
like
Is there no like a fancy? Sorry, is there no like a fancy like company called Parker's or that? I would be up for that. Parker Pens, they could take over.
Parker Pens, Jesus. It's
joke.
Again, it brings it back to. I mean, McGranda comes in. What a name, lads! Jock Stein Stadium, eh? What a salute to them being man
Well, I
himself.
sat in the Jock Stein stand, so yeah, I'll accept that.
Yeah.
100 every day and twice on a Sunday for that one. But I mean, like, it's interesting. I mean, we've took different, as I said, different avenues tonight in terms of going around and talking about all the different stuff in world football. And it brings it back to the point, every club in England, as you said, Ross, have lost their soul, their identity, right? You have Man City who are run about pretending they're the biggest club in the world, and really finances dictate where they are. Chelsea the same. Arsenal to an extent, obviously not as high up as them. United's peeled off. 100%. But it's all dictated by finance and dictated by the wee world they've built around them. And for me, I know you're a traditionalist, Ross. You kind of proved that tonight in terms of Celtic Football Club, and 100% me as well. But again, like Ged, there has to be maybe a different way of thinking if we don't be left behind year on year and then complain about finances, complain about world-class players if we don't take these opportunities, Ged. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I don't want to be left behind. I want to be the ticket for the train, to go on the train. Of course you do. But what I certainly don't want as well, you watch English, like at the Merseyside derby, Manchester derby, whatever, your biggest rivals, they score a goal and their fans, they're not even celebrating, they're out with the phones. Take pictures. Get a grip.
It's incredible.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Get a grip.
Yes, Ged. Get into them. Come on. We love that.
And by the way, you can't even say it's tourist fans, because it won't be. This will be guys from Manchester. Oh, they want to take pictures. That's no fans to me. You want to celebrate with the people round about you. Cuddling them, whatever. Cuddling total strangers.
Aye.
Yeah. Yep. Let me take a selfie of that. That's the way it all is now. But I mean,
I know it's... You're bang on.
Great chat about European football. That's what kind of, obviously, like we always did on Friday, seem to go way on. But we'll bring it back to domestic action, Ged, and I'll come straight back to you here. You mentioned out of European football, time to focus on possibly the domestic treble. And I think there was a few guys, maybe you, Ross, I don't know, who said Celtic could possibly go unbeaten this season. I think we should have said that. I think. I
said it in a agree to disagree. I said it was a possibility, but
it's a big statement to say.
I think they fucking fell short the week after or something.
All right, listen, even if we go win the treble, we can say we're invincible. Rangers done it when they won the league there a couple of years ago. They said they were invincible, even though they didn't win the 2 cups. Aye. So we'll just say we're invincible.
Aye, just make sure as we go along.
It's a new addition to the Endless Celts podcast with the original logo, by the way. Retro, isn't it? The retro logo is back again. But come to it, said domestic travel. Is it not an ambition? Is it an aim for you, or is it like what Ross said? Maybe if you do the double, or even just do the league, would you be happy with that, or is it just a double the travel you'd be looking for?
First and foremost, I want the league. That's the priority, and anything else is a bonus for me. I mean, when I think back, I remember when Martin O'Neill first season we won the treble. That was the first treble I ever seen. And then when Brendan Rodgers done it his first season, when it was the invincible season, I'm like that. This is something we don't see often. And then to go and do it the next 3 years, I think what's that 6 trebles we've got in our history. So if we could get a treble that year, it would just be phenomenal. Will we get it? I don't know. That's all hope, but I just want the league first and foremost.
Yeah, and I think as well, if we get the 7th, does that equal their record? I think it does.
I think it does.
Yeah,
I think it does.
So I think as well, Ross, you have to be careful, isn't it? Because you come out of European football, and the first thing people say, domestic treble, has to be in the bag. It has to be the aim for the club and all that. Yes, Alan's won the domestic double, and as you said, you trusted the process then, but it's evolved from that for you. Me personally, if I look at this league season, if I look at their squad and look at what they're going through currently, if that trend continues, I can see us being at Christmas time a good couple of points ahead. I know we're 4 points now, but I can see that being increased. There's nothing about them really that scares me no more. Not scare me, but like kind of gives me anxiety. I know we spoke about Kemp before being a danger, things like that. And I'm not being disrespectful to the other clubs involved. I think they could quite easily take points of us on any given day, like St Mirren done, and that type of thing. We have to get rid of that complacency. And as Anne said last season when we lost them 3 games, we have to be near on perfect. Maybe not to that level just yet in terms of perfection and winning every game, but I can see us steamrolling now and getting involved because we've got Starfelt coming back, Yada's coming back, and then we've got the captain coming back.
I'm not what to say nothing. I'm not what to predict anything.
You're
because
saying you're saying it.
I predicted that we could go unbeaten, and about 2 weeks later we got beat. So I'm not what to curse anything. But I mean, what you're saying there is right. Rangers don't look the team that they have been. I mean, they drew with Livingston last week, and they have been out of form. But in that period, they've still been picking up results domestically. They've still been getting the wins. It's narrow wins, but they're still winning. Celtic got a narrow win last week, and we all hailed it.
Yep.
But Ross,
Do you know
look
what I mean?
at Andrew's action last week at the Hearts game. I've never seen him reacting like he did after his
he was so animated,
fucking yes. That he realised that's a big point. The big 3 points last week.
But I think he realised it was at the stage of the season. I don't think had we came through the amount of adversity that he came through, and during that game, I don't think it would have felt as big to him as what it did. I don't think at the stage of the season it would be an absolute gutter. I mean, we were 5 points ahead of Rangers at one point. We lose that game, Rangers probably go and beat Livingston, right, and we're levelling points. So as a bad one. So as a massive one in that sense. But at the same time, I think it felt bigger because of the adversity we came through during that game with the new VAR, the terrible decisions, and we still overcame it all and scored 4 goals at Tynecastle, conceded 3 goals at Tynecastle and still won.
Yeah. I think as well, like, it's funny, isn't it? The people who done our VAR got rewarded with a lovely tasty trip to Ibrox for their next session.
I know. I mean, only in Scotland. Only in
Scotland. Remember, guys, we can't be deluded. We're not allowed to be deluded.
No.
Paranoid. We can't be paranoid or anything like that.
Don't you dare. Yeah, mental case.
Like, it's interesting to hear your points, and to be honest, a lot of people saying these comments, you make a lot of sense, and you really do. What about VAR? We haven't really touched upon that, and we talked about it previously in our podcast, so we don't really have much detail to go into. Ross, you weren't on, so maybe you want to add to it. But what's your opinion on this? It was a car crash, wasn't it?
Is that me or Ross?
Jed.
Right. Well, last week when the handball, when Smith hit the handball, I thought, thank God VAR's there, we're going to get a penalty now.
Yeah.
And we never got that. I thought, what's the point? What is the point of VAR if they're not going to give a penalty for that? Absolute joke. So, I honestly, I just don't know how it's going to work. It'll be interesting to see tomorrow at Ibrox to see what happens. I'm going to watch the game just to see what it's like. But surely to God, if they're a handball at that game tomorrow, are they going to give a penalty? Of course they are.
Yeah,
of course they are.
Yeah.
But I've said as well, VAR shouldn't have come in now. It should have been the start of the next season. What about the games it's already been? Was it Motherwell against United, something like that? There was a clear handball, and they never even gave the penalty. The VAR, so that's not fair in the teams who have been penalised in the past for not spotting fouls, offsides. To bring it in now, I just think's a disaster.
Yeah,
it should have been brought in at the start of the season.
110%. This whole.
I'm a bit out. I mean, when you see VAR, when you see the Spurs goal the other night from the Champions League, it got disallowed. Come on.
I've never seen it.
I never seen it, actually.
Well, go on YouTube and watch it. And
I heard it was bad.
How it was called off, I don't know. I mean, honestly,
I
don't know.
See, to be fair, Jed, I think what you said there nails it for me. This whole implementation, Ross, of it midway through a season, games have been played, points have been dictated where it's gone. Mm-hmm. Games have won, lost in decisions already. And you look at, as you said, only in Scotland with the shambles of them two people, McLean and Walsh, get rewarded with a trip to the Ibrox and the Cousy seats to manage that game with VAR. Incredible. And I go back to it. We were so left in the dark of what was happening on the pitch. No one had an idea. The decisions were just like that, as you said, the handball, yeah, 2 seconds in the earpiece. He didn't even go to the monitor or anything to review it himself. He trusted what McLean said in that instant, Ross. And I know you weren't on. I went a bit buck mad with Willie on Monday there because I was absolutely fuming at VAR. Yeah. But how did you feel? I know we've had a week to kind of reflect, but again, I still don't feel any different.
I don't feel any different. I was fucking fizzing. If you ask Sharon how I was, she says, I've never seen you like that watching a game of football, ever. And even at one point, I missed the Abada offside. I was watching the game on the telly, and I missed the Abada offside because the Wayne was in her room, and she put a thing on her Amazon to come up on the living room telly, and it said, "Shut up, Dad." I was absolutely apoplectic, right? And I'll tell you why, because when VAR was talked about, it was coming into Scotland, right? Every one of us said that it won't make any difference to Celtic. We'll still get the wrong decision. Mm-hmm. It'll no change. The first game in VAR, Hearts got a penalty that, in my opinion, was 100% a penalty. No doubt about it, right? No doubt about it in my mind. Some people can argue, but in my opinion, there was no question, right? They took a few minutes, maybe a wee bit longer than they should have, but you can put it down to getting used to it. But they came to the right decision. Celtic had a goal for Ralston that in real time, I wasn't sure. Wasn't sure what happened. You look back at it and you can say, quite often refs give that a bit of grappling in the box. They give it to the defender. If the defender falls, the defender has bought the foul, right? Giakoumakis has no fouled him, but the defender's bought it, and 9 times out of 10, the referee buys it as well and gives it, right? So you can understand why it was given, but all the stuff in between it and that.
Play.
No, I understand that as well. Yeah. I know that. The referee was a bit maybe quick on his whistle, but again, you can put that down to it's the first game that the referee's done it. I know they've been practicing, but in the heat of the battle, the fans all around you, you maybe forget yourself, and I can understand it, right? But the penalty kick for Celtic, the handball, was everything that we thought, said, and knew it would be before it came into play. Hearts get a penalty, they take 3 or 4 minutes to deliberate over it, and they come to the right decision. They take less than 20 seconds to look at a blatant handball, and they don't give it. They don't give it. And I'm like, sitting there, like, not even in disbelief. I was screaming at the telly, this is why we didn't want it, because they're going to use it to just fuck us over. And I hate being like this. I absolutely hate being like this, because I didn't want to go down that conspiracy route and all that. But there's nobody got to tell me that we don't. Like Ange said it himself, and he doesn't talk about refs. We don't get decisions. What is it he said? What was it Ange said?
With only penalty kicks we takes in training.
Aye, in training. He's fucking right. VAR was implemented exactly how I expected against Celtic on Saturday afternoon. And it will be implemented like that again and again and again. We've got a 4-point lead, and I'll tell you, we bloody need it, because they will do everything in their power.
Up against a physical team on Sunday, so VAR better be, because they will certainly be letting us know we're in a game on Sunday at Livingston.
Aye. And by the way, right now, sorry Jed to cut you off there, but right now is the time to say this is no right, because we've won that game. We need to, because, and I'm quite happy to moan about it now because we won the game. See, after a defeat, it just gives them the scope to say, you just fucking rage because you get beat. You do you know what I mean? You get decisions all the time. No, VAR came in and it has been implemented exactly how everyone has thought. And for me, that's no paranoia. That is just an experience of 20 odd years of watching the same shit going on.
Ged, you said something interesting, right? And I know we're in. I mean, I hope you don't mind us just dragging on a bit. I'm enjoying the chat. I hope you're
Loving
you're
it,
not looking to get away, Ged. But Ross
If
mentioned there.
anybody's watching down the stair, any of the girls, I'll have another beer.
That's your code word. Get him a beer.
Yes.
Get him a beer quick. But yeah, I think as well what Ross says makes a lot of sense, right? And I know, Ross, to be fair, I'll back you up on this one. You don't like going down them rabbit holes, right? And it takes a lot for you to kind of go down there and down that route. And Robbie Boy 1888, why not go down a conspiracy route, Ross? It's always been this way. Which brings me to you, Jed. You said you've experienced 15 of the managers so far at Celtic Football Club. Where does this rank for you in terms of what you're seeing with referee decisions the way back then? Not way back then. I mean, that sounds really disrespectful, but you know what I mean. The back then, previous managers.
Look, there has been some horrendous. I mean, a Celtic Rangers game from about 15 years ago was at Broadfoot, fouled and the penalty wasn't given. There has been loads of decisions even don't go back that many years. Ronnie Dyler, the semi-final against Ross County.
Yes.
Who was refereeing it? McLean. The guy who was doing the VAR. Is that the same boy as the ex-Rangers season ticket holder? Come on. It's getting to the stage. Do we need to be paranoid enough to say, no, we want referees brought in from Europe? Because
I'm on it.
In this country, we do not disclose, the referees do not disclose which team they support.
Yeah.
In England, you have to. So if we want to be whiter than white, we need to have people who are impartial. Whether, Celtic fans can't referee Celtic games. Rangers fans can't referee Rangers games. We need to bring them in. Oh, sorry, boys.
There you go.
The delivery.
Lovely.
He's just crawling.
Maltese wants to bring a point to you there, Jed. Do you remember Johnny Doyle getting sent off across the ball?
I'm sure it was against Ayr United. He hit the referee with the ball by pure accident and was a second breaking and sent him off. So he did. I'm sure it was against Ayr United. So it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think we're used to it now. It's part of life. We accept that the referees are biased.
Right.
So we are, and we just say, "Oh, it's happened again."
Yeah.
But if you kick up a stink, I mean, remember the last time it was the referees went on strike with Neil Lennon, the match up at Dundee United, when the referee admitted he lied. But it was their fault. It was Neil Lennon's fault because he asked. Called him out. So they went on strike because of what Neil Lennon said. But he only commented because they were lying. So it hasn't got any better. I mean, it's been like this as long as I can remember.
Yeah,
so
it's only going to get worse with VR, by the way, because
it is.
I just said to you, like Sharon said to me, I've never seen you as angry. And the reason I was so angry is because, before VAR, loads of decisions against us, but you can sort of say, you can caveat it and say, right, okay, in real time, he's maybe never seen it. You look back, do you know what I mean? Two for my memory, are the George Cadet one at Ibrox. He's onside. Sean Maloney gets scythed down at Ibrox. It's a stonewall penalty. I can't mind
Neil
what
Lennon
year it was.
Ross, Ibrox.
Neil Lennon, at almost the identical position, by the way. And no penalty given. But you go to yourself, right, we've seen replays in real time on the telly. You can see it. You don't know what the referee's vision is. You can, maybe there's grey areas. There's a element of understanding. But that on Saturday was like, right, okay, it's up for interpretation in real time. But you've got, or you should have been allowed the benefit of replay. You didn't take it. You didn't even take a quarter of the time that you took on the Hearts penalty. Fuck yous.
But Ross, what you've got to mind as well, right? Hearts they've got some screens in the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
There's not many stadiums got the screens, right? So fans are going to be there. So they don't know if it's a potential offside, potential penalty check, whatever. They're just going to be, oh, what's going on here? Because unfortunately, the money isn't there for the clubs to install the screens. So the fans are going to be just wait and think, what the hell's going on? But at least at the screens, any of the clubs that's got the screens, they're actually saying, oh, potential offside, potential penalty. At least they know what they're checking. 80% of the stadium don't have it.
One of my biggest issues was as well, Jen, when you watched it on the TV, right, and you go back to the Bundesliga, Serie A, English Premier League, right, see when these checks are happening, you kind of get through into the environment of the room that the VAR officials are in. You can see what they're looking at. You can see the stills. You can see the lines. You can see what players are involved in that decision-making process, right? My biggest annoyance was the fact that it took probably around 10 minutes before Sky came back and said there was no penalty for a specific reason. I can't remember what it was. Hand by the side. The offside goal as well. There was no clarification. And it's what's even more frustrating, as you said, Hearts have the big screens, right? Fair enough. We had the benefit of watching on probably the biggest TV organisation to do with football, and they didn't even tell us what was happening. They had no communication with the VAR room, and usually they do in the big EPL games. So if that's how it's going to work out, and I know for a fact that Celtic and the other team are majority funding this process, if one of them pulls the funding on that, and more likely be Celtic, then they can only blame themselves for not using it properly.
Mm-hmm. I know there is no right answer for this, but honestly, we either have it or we don't have it, and by the looks of things, we've got it now, and we're just going to have to get on with it. And hopefully, if there is other mistakes like that more people then call it out. As Ross said earlier, Celtic had the ideal opportunity after they won the game and saying, look, we're concerned about the refereeing. Could you explain to us why that was not given as a handball? We want to know why that wasn't given.
I think before VAR, right, we've touched on decisions down the years, right? But again, I've sort of said you can understand that in real time and all that why a ref doesn't give it. You can't argue it, right, because you don't see what he sees, right? But I think after Saturday, I think, okay, you can say, right, we should have maybe, it was an ideal opportunity to then go, right, after a victory, right, what's the script? Can you hang, right? But at the same time, it's the first game with it. Mm-hmm. But I think probably Celtic are biding their time, and I quite believe that they'll be able to build up a body of evidence, because I think it's going to happen time and time again. But I think they're waiting to build up a body of evidence to then take it to whoever they need to take it to say, right, now that VAR's come in, look at all this stuff. You cannot argue that these decisions are going against us and something needs to be done about it. I'm not saying it's cheating, but there's certainly unconscious bias in my opinion.
But Ross, can you remember, it was maybe about 8 to 10 years ago, when Real Radio had the phone in, and there was a boy put a thing about the honest mistakes, and it was all about the referees, various games, how we didn't get decisions, the other team got decisions, and so on. It was phenomenal. Now I know the boy that put that together, and he's an encyclopedia when it comes to stuff like that. It was fantastic, and it was honest mistakes. It was called, and it was eye-opening then. Naming it all down, and this has been going on as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, and it's a joke.
But I think it's harder evidence when you can do it when a referee's made a decision and then made a decision with the benefit of replay.
I know, but look, like you just said earlier as well, the referee it was at Walsh on Saturday. He's missed a penalty, so he's supposed to be getting the help from McLean, and McLean turns around and says, "Oh look, it's a penalty." That's why I wasn't panicking. Thought we're going to get a penalty here, but not to get it. I mean,
it's incredible.
I mean, I must admit, you were going mental when we scored the third goal to go 3-2 up. I was going bonkers. Absolute bonkers. So,
Jessica's pal was in, and the two of them were standing in the hall just going, "What's?"
I think one of the most,
lost it.
I think one of the most telling things, and by the way, Jed, I think that their thing that you're talking about has a lot of references in the cup.
You're in black and white, kid.
Has a lot of, has had a lot of. Hold on a wee second.
What about the honest mistakes?
That's it.
Aye. So there's been a lot of references to that, and I think they're talking about that in terms of honest mistakes. And what annoys me is, and Ross, you said it, and I thought it was really telling, and Jed, you alluded to it as well. We expect these decisions, and the fact that we have a 4-point gap, not even security from our nearest rivals, it's security from bad decisions. I know for a fact, and I remember me and Graham McWilliams, who done a rewind with ourselves as well, talked about before Real Madrid and Barcelona, and I think it was Barcelona used to account for the fact before their season kicked off how many points they would lose via referee decisions. I'm wondering, is it the same thing with Celtic, Jed? Because it is so obvious now that, as Ross rightly pointed out, with VAR, there's no hiding space. And eventually, this is all going to catch up with them. And I don't know if it's going to come out in 1 year it was all cheating or whatever, but the unconscious bias is there. And I alluded to it on Monday. They don't need to say what team they support. They don't need to say where their allegiances lie. And that, for me, is unprofessional. Every other league in the world, no matter how obscure that league is, they have to declare what team they support.
But I personally don't think our board helped us sell 10 years ago with a 5-way agreement. Because if they're willing to go in and do something like that, they're willing to accept the referees making mistakes as well. You know.
Sorry, Jed, can I just... What's the 5-way agreement?
About how when Rangers, the new Rangers were allowed to come back in, and they could keep their history and so on. The board agreed, because every time it gets brought up at the AGM, it's brushed under the carpet. An absolute joke. So if they're willing to do that, then they're willing to let the referees make the decision. They're not going to call it out. They're not. What I wish is if Fergus McCann was still here, he would call it out.
Someone mentioned him earlier. I think it was Francis actually.
Why would I?
I think I'm right in saying any court case he went to, he never lost one. He won every court case. The guy was ruthless. And honestly, that guy, if he was still on the board now, there would be things not happening. He'd be calling everything out. So he would. He won with George Cadet when they were late in registering. Farry had to leave his job after it. So it was an absolute joke. Our club, our board has had a lot to answer for as well. They are not calling it out when they should be.
By the way, see with all of that said, right? I don't know if this is fact, right? I don't know if anybody in the comments could look it up quickly or whatever, right? But I was talking about this in a Celtic group that I'm on Facebook, and a Celtic fan had said to me that excluding this season, the last 3 years, both Celtic and Rangers have 17 penalties in the league each. I'm amazed at that. Absolutely amazed. I trust the guy's opinion because he's not a nugget or that, but I was completely amazed at that they've both had the same amount of penalties in the last 3 years, excluding this season, because the season Rangers won the league, they got a copious amount of penalties that year. And I'd be amazed if that was right. That's it. If anybody can look that up and come into the comments and enlighten us.
If that's the case, I'll take it back then, because that's shocking.
Don't take it back. No,
I'm not asking you to take it back. I wasn't challenging you there. I was asking.
Not you.
Oh, sorry, right. Aye. Oh, sorry, but
aware of Fergus saying that And if that's the case, well, he's went down in my estimation then.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not really aware of that, Monty, so thanks for bringing that onto the thing. But yeah, we're nearly 2 hours in, as usual for a Friday podcast, fellas, and we'll kind of draw the attention away from VR, even though it's probably going to be a discussion point in Monday's podcast after we visit the Tony Macaroni Stadium, Jed. And as you rightly said, against a physical team, Dave Martindale, I mean, some way Rangers supporting tracksuit wearing manager has them playing well. I don't know what he does, but he does get them playing well. Let's be fair to him. He has a way of playing. It's a bit like off the cuff defensive mode, and have a few players sprinkled in between who can cause a bit of hurt. The striker Nubly that Ross likes, and their winger Bahambula, who looks a decent signing for him, quite fast. And I know Pittman in the midfield has signed a new deal. He's been there most of his playing career. So they have a couple of good players, and Fitzwater at the back as well. Tony Macaroni Stadium, Jed, potential banana skin. What do you think?
Yeah, potential banana skin, without a doubt. That's why Giakoumakis has to start on Sunday, because it's going to be a physical game. You have got Fitzwater and Ubalai, the centre halves, who are both 6'3". Physical guys. I watched the Rangers Livingston game last week. If you try and put high balls into them, it's a piece of cake. We'll take it all day. So we need to get the ball quicker, along the ground quicker, because they will be up for it. We have struggled. I mean, we won there last season 3-1, wasn't it? When James Forrest scored as well, the last game. So I just hope we go in with that mindset. And that, as you say, Nobilo, I can never pronounce the striker.
Nibley.
He's a guy. And he's another 6'3". So Jens will need to be on his game on Sunday for that. Because
100%.
Where they always trouble us, look back in all the games, set pieces. Whether it's free kicks, corners, we have to try and make sure we're not giving away silly fouls. Because if we do, they're a big team. They're just bringing all the big boys up. And their team lacks height. I think, like I say, Carter Vickers isn't even 6 foot. So Jens is their tallest defender. O'Reilly's a bit of height, but is he great at the back? You just need to bring Giakoumakis back for the set pieces to try and help out. But we need to be up for this on Sunday, guys. This is not going to be an easy game. Never has an easy game.
I'm much of the mindset of you, Jed. I know Martindale spoke about when he was at Ibrox, his tactic was give Rangers the wings and they can lump the ball in from crosses. And as Jed rightly said there, not a problem. As you rightly said, with Obel Guy and Jack Fitzwater and people like that, they're heading that ball away, meat and drink for them. And you go into Ross, I know you like Nobly, you spoke about him before in our group chat and stuff, and maybe he could be the first striker that some fans want. You never know. The words work.
I said that at the start of the season, I think.
Yeah, you did. The word works in mysterious ways. But Jed's right. Not going to be an easy game. I think sometimes we'll have the potential to underestimate them in their home turf. They have caused us problems over the years. Dykes, for example, players of that kind of calibre. I mean, you go back to Julian, couldn't even handle him. So there is a potential there. I think we need to get rid of that complacency, get the whole Champions League out of our minds, and go into this game. And I think it was Greg Taylor said it, with the treat this like we would Real Madrid.
Mm-hmm. Aye. Livingston are going to give Celtic problems. They give every team in the league problems because of their physicality, their organisation. But Celtic, if they play to their potential, they will cut them open. I believe that. And I think that, alluding to my starting lineup, I know Jed said they gave Rangers the wings and let them lump balls in. That's fine. It's meat and drink for Livingston. But I think if you give Celtic the wings, they won't just lump balls in. For me, that's why Giakoumakis has to
the balls in, Ross. So this could play into that.
Aye, for me, that's why Giakoumakis has to play, because it'll be no like a lump in the ball in, because they'll get to the byline, but closer to the box in terms of Hatate making that run in, stuff like that, the reverse ball, and Giakoumakis gets across the defender. That's the type of balls we need to be playing into the box against Livingston. We need to be hitting the bylines. We can't play through them. but we need to hit the bylines, make the park as wide as possible, and play low balls in, and Giakoumakis all day long will get across the front of that defender and he'll get you goals. We might get goals for other areas. I feel it's a very difficult game, but that's the way we have to play the game.
But Ross, if that's why I feel Giakoumakis has to play, because he can take players out. Players can need to run with him, and it creates space for guys running in. Like your Hatatis, your O'Reillys, etc. That's why he has to play.
Mm-hmm.
I think as well,
100%.
it goes back to the fact, and by the way, Ross, I think Alistair is backing up your point there. 14 penalties, 7 leads last 2 seasons. So he's come in kind of
That's
back
incredible,
up. But it is incredible. But you go back to as you rightly said, I think it's both now said that we move the ball quicker than they do. So effectively, if you create that space, and I think O'Reilly maybe playing in the 6 might actually stick them a bit, because then you have to deal with O'Reilly's passing. You've got Hatate who can pick a pass and score you a goal from midfield. And if it's Haksabanovic back in that 10 role, then again, there's another issue there. But yeah, Ged, Giakoumakis for me has to start. Ross, you said it as well. Mm-hmm. If they're giving us the wings, and I 100% agree with what you both said, we can play different kind of combinations down them wings. You can have the likes of Taylor linking up with Maeda or Hacksaw or whoever it may be, Forrest on the left, for example. They can cut in, play intricate passes and get through you that way, or get the ball to Giakoumakis. So there's 2 different variations of what we can do on the wings. And I'd be quite looking forward to seeing how much we've progressed in terms of going to the Livingston ground, because Jed's rightly pointed out, we haven't had much luck going there. So go there, get a good win, it'd be a good statement for the season. And to come back at you, Jed, your score and your lineup prediction.
Right, lineup. I would go, obviously, Hart and goal. Taylor, he was outstanding. We never spoke about it earlier. He was outstanding, I thought, on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Jens, who had a good game on Tuesday night, and CCV. Right, I'm going to go Ralston. Right back.
Okay.
Midfield is kind of picking itself now with O'Reilly, Hatate, and who am I missing out midfield?
Hacksaw
or Moy?
Moy. I'm going to go Moy.
No.
I'm going to go Moy, I know. Where I Walsh on the wing, the right wing, James Forrest. Left wing, I wouldn't play Jota from the start tomorrow. They're not in that pitch. So I'm going to go Maeda. And up front, Giakoumakis.
Right. Score prediction?
But if you take Moy out, you want Haksabanovic then to go in and play the number 10.
That's what I would do. That's what I would do.
That's what I would do.
I mean,
I think we need to move the ball quicker against Livingston, organised. That's why
I'll take that. I'm just thinking about more the physicality side of the game. I just feel Moy will.
What a comment. Line up, not a good choice. A phrase given who manages that. Shows up
when I was watching the game, when I was watching it, because he was running up and down the line, I was actually thought he was trying to sell some lines with his history.
What's your score prediction, Jed?
2-0 Celtic.
I like it.
O'Reilly
2-0 is
O'Reilly and Giakoumakis.
Oh, the goal score predictions. You're bringing back the goal score predictions.
Old school. You have to go with the flag.
Well, not with the old school.
You have to do the triple threat here, Ross. So your lineup, your score, and your goal score predictions.
Already duty. I'll go Joe Hart and goals. A back four, Juranovic. No, in fact, no. I'll play Ralston. Ralston, CCV, Jens, Taylor. Midfield 3, O'Reilly, Hatate, Haksabanovic. Just because of what we've said, I like Moy. I think he keeps the ball well, but I think we need to move the ball quicker against an organised, compact Livy. And then front 3, same as Jed, Maeda, Forrest, Giakoumakis. I'm going to go 3-0 Celtic, and I'm going to go Maeda, Giakoumakis and Forrest.
Nice. I like that. Very confident prediction so far. So for myself, I'll go Joe Hart, Anthony Ralston, Carter Vickers, Jens, Taylor, O'Reilly, Hatate, Haksabanovic, Abada on the right, Giakoumakis through the middle, Made on the left, and my goal scoring prediction will be 2-0 Celtic with a Giakoumakis double. I think he's going to turn up trees against this lad. And again, it's not underestimating Livingston. Let's be honest. We know we've had issues there before, so it's about the 3 points this time, regardless of what way regardless of what way this game goes.
Aye.
Yeah,
100%.
And to bring in the comments to end off the evening, Monty's all about, I don't know, what's it, mashed potatoes and sausage. Alistair Jack, we need to start quick. Ian McIntosh, Martindale be keeping the linesman busy. Studs Lanigan, any win will do. He'll. Gary Melrose, 3 weeks ago would have gone 3-0. What's your score prediction now then, Gary? And then Stubbsy, Horse, Martindale could make a hash of it on Sunday, and McGranda to round it off. 2-1 Celtic. Celtic will get a penalty. He's confident.
We always miss it at Livingston. James.
No, don't.
I know. And I've said Juranovic shouldn't be playing tomorrow. So if we get a penalty, who's going to take it?
But I tell you what, I've loved this episode. It's been absolutely fantastic. And Ged, come to you, buddy. Have you enjoyed being on?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Obviously, didn't know what to expect. Well, I didn't know what to expect. Look, it's all about opinions.
Yeah.
You know, people will agree. Some people will agree with me. Some people won't. I won't agree with everything that people put up. But we've all got the one thing. We all love Celtic. And that's it.
Yes.
We all want the best for the club.
100%.
So, that's 3 points on Sunday, and we'll finish off the weekend. That's all we want.
Yeah. 100%, buddy. And to yourself, Ross, have you enjoyed it?
Thoroughly enjoyed it. I think, honestly, Ged, I think you've been first class, man.
Yeah.
Came in and you've just embraced it, and your opinions have been brilliant, very balanced. Really, really appreciate your opinion, and I really appreciate you coming on. And it's not up to me, but I would have you back on again anytime.
Thank you.
Oh, why? 110%. And that's what I was going to say to you, Ged. Like, this isn't going to be a last, and hopefully you're up for coming on again in the future as well to talk more Celtic. If you're up for that, Ged, come with us again.
I don't know if you let the guys know, but I had issues, technical issues earlier. I had to go and change machines and stuff like that.
When I first went on, I was in the studio with him. I was going, "Can you hear me?"
Look at Monty, he's a fucking knob, man.
But here, fellas, it's been a great podcast. Ged, stick around. Don't be pressing any buttons. I want to get a chat with you after. And until Monday, and hopefully a nice comfy win for Celtic Football Club. Stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.